Welcome to Boring Cinema. Tonight, we gently revisit the story of The Dark Knight. Settle in, relax, and let the film unfold slowly. There are films that arrive in the world and then remain there, not because they demanded attention, but because what they contain continues to reward it, long after the noise around them has quieted. The Dark Knight, released in the summer of 2008 and directed by Christopher Nolan, is one of those films. It came with expectations behind it, as sequels to well-received films always do. And it met those expectations in ways that moved well beyond the genre it inhabited, into territory that had more to do with philosophy and moral weight than with action or spectacle. The film asks serious questions. What does a city owe to the person who protects it? What does that person owe to the city in return? When order and chaos meet, and neither can entirely destroy the other, what remains? These are not the questions of a summer entertainment. They are the questions of something that has thought carefully about its subject and has chosen to take that subject seriously. The story concerns a man who wears a mask, a city that is beautiful and broken in equal measure, and a figure who arrives from somewhere outside the ordinary world to demonstrate, methodically and with great patience, that the line between civilization and its collapse is thinner than anyone would like to believe. The story is told at night, mostly. It is told in shadow and in glass, and in the particular blue-gray light of a city that never quite rests. Settle in. Let us begin. The film opens on a city, Gotham City, in the particular version of it that Christopher Nolan has built across two films, is a place with the feeling of a real American city taken to a slightly higher degree. More towers, more density, more weight in the architecture. The kind of city that has been accumulating itself for long enough that the layers of what it used to be are still visible beneath what it has become. The morning light catches the glass of the skyscrapers and sends it back fractured. And the city below is already moving, already in the specific motion of a place that does not pause. The camera moves toward one particular building, a bank that sits in the financial district of Gotham City and that opens in the early hours of the morning with the arrival of several men in clown masks. They arrive in a vehicle, they move with purpose, they carry equipment. The masks they wear are the particular masks of men who are not interested in being remembered as individuals, but only in the execution of a plan. And the plan, as it begins to unfold, has the quality of something that has been thought through with considerable care. The clown-masked men disperse across the building with efficiency. 2 go to the roof. 2 enter the bank floor. The manager and the staff are subdued. The vault is located. A plan is under execution. But the plan, as it continues, reveals something unusual. The men have been given instructions to eliminate one another as each stage of the work is completed. One team member finishes his task and turns to find that his colleague has been told to remove him. The work is being done by fewer and fewer people as it progresses, each man discovering, at the moment his usefulness ends, that the plan has accounted for his removal. The manager of the bank, who is not a man without resources, retrieves a shotgun from beneath his counter and fires at the remaining robbers. He speaks to them while he fires. He has contempt for them. The particular contempt of a man who believes he is protecting something worth protecting, who understands, he says, that criminals in this city used to have a code, used to have a structure that separated them from the merely chaotic, and who regards these men as a falling off from a better era of Gotham crime. He empties his shotgun into the robber nearest him. The robber does not fall. The robber, wearing a protective vest, steps forward and removes the manager's shotgun. The robber, who stands holding the shotgun in the bank lobby of a Gotham morning, is wearing, beneath the clown mask, a face paint pattern that has made itself into one of cinema's most recognizable images. The smeared white and red of grease paint applied without care, the wide dark lines around the eyes, the extended red lines at the corners of the mouth, suggesting a smile that goes further than a smile naturally goes. This is the Joker. He has been here all along. He has been driving the bus that brought the team to the bank. He is the last man standing because he designed the plan so that he would be. He removes his mask. He addresses the bank manager with a calm and a specificity that the manager, who expected violence or panic, is not prepared for. He talks about a kind of criminal who believes in things, and then the bus arrives through the front wall of the bank, absorbing the final clown-masked man into its grill, and the Joker loads the stolen money into bags, places a gas grenade in the bank manager's mouth with the instruction that he should hold it between his teeth, and boards the bus with the money. The bus drives out through the hole in the wall and joins a line of identical school buses that are, in the chaos of the morning, unremarkable. The camera watches the bus join the line and move off into the city. The bank manager sits on the marble floor of the robbed vault with the pin of a grenade held between his lips and the empty vault behind him, and the morning coming through the broken front of the building, and purple smoke begins to pour from the grenade, and it is not the lethal gas he feared. The Joker left him alive. There is a note in the manager's pocket that he has not yet discovered. This is the film's opening. It does not begin with the hero. It begins with the villain, with the plan, with the particular style of a person who has arrived in Gotham City with intentions that the city does not yet understand. The choice to open this way, to let the Joker define the first minutes, to let the audience understand something of what he is before the protagonist appears, is a deliberate one. The film is establishing, before anything else, that this story's center of gravity is not entirely where we expect it to be. Gotham City, in this particular morning, is a city in transition. The year before, the events of the previous film saw a man in a bat costume appear on the rooftops and in the alleys of Gotham, and begin in his strange and violent way to disrupt the organized crime that had long treated the city as its operating environment. The disruption worked, in the way that disruptions of very large and deeply embedded systems sometimes work in their early stages, not by eliminating the system, but by introducing a friction that the system had not budgeted for, a cost that accumulated and changed the conditions of the work. Gotham's organized crime is still present, but it is more careful, more defensive, less comfortable in its operations than it was before the man in the bat costume appeared. The city's law enforcement has been reorganized around the figure of James Gordon, a lieutenant who operated, in the city's darkest period, with a particular kind of integrity. Not the integrity of a man who was never tempted, but the integrity of a man who was tempted constantly, and who chose each time to do the harder thing. Gordon is now a commissioner, or approaching one. He stands at the center of an operation that has been, compared to what came before it, relatively clean. He works with the man in the bat costume in the specific way of two people who trust each other's intentions without being able to entirely account for each other's methods. He has also been working with a new figure in Gotham's civic life. Harvey Dent has arrived in Gotham as the city's district attorney with the energy of someone who believes that what he is doing matters absolutely and who has the ability, unusual in the context of Gotham's political history, to make that belief persuasive to others. He is young, or younger than the job usually goes to. He is forthright. He goes after organized crime with the specific fearlessness of a man who has decided that being frightened of the people he is pursuing would be a form of failure he will not permit himself. The newspapers call him Gotham's White Knight, a designation that carries within it the specific charge of a city that wants to believe that legitimate means can do what the man in the bat costume, by his nature, cannot quite do. That the law, when properly wielded, is enough. Harvey Dent is, in the film's early sections, everything the city needs him to be. He brings cases, he wins them, he stands in front of Gotham and says, in the plainest possible language, that the city belongs to its citizens and not to those who profit from its disorder. The courage this requires, not the physical courage, but the civic courage, the willingness to do this work in public, and to put your face to it and your name to it when the people you are working against are capable of the things that Gotham's organized crime is capable of, is real. It is one of the film's genuine portraits of something like heroism, and it is deliberate that this portrait is introduced before it is tested. He is also in love with Rachel Dawes. Rachel Dawes is the assistant district attorney, and her relationship with Harvey Dent has the particular quality of something that has developed between two people who respect each other's work and have come, through the closeness of shared work done well, to love each other in the fuller sense. There is ease between them. There is warmth. Harvey's feeling for Rachel has the specific quality of a person who has found, in the person they love, something that confirms, rather than complicates, the life they want to live. She is part of the picture, part of what he is working toward. She is also, in the history of the story, connected to Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne occupies a particular position in Gotham City in this part of the story. He is the city's wealthiest citizen and one of its most visible social figures, a man whose public life is conducted at a specific angle to reality, parties and events, and the cultivated performance of a man who is interested primarily in pleasure and acquisition. The performance is designed to make him seem like the least likely candidate for the kind of work he does at night. It is a performance he has been giving for long enough that the maintenance of it has become a kind of second nature. At night, he is Batman. The Batman operation, as it exists at this point in the story, is run from a staging point beneath the city with the specific efficiency of something that has been under continuous development and refinement. Lucius Fox, who manages Wayne Enterprises' Applied Science Division, has been the source of the equipment and the vehicles and the suit. Alfred Pennyworth, who has been Bruce Wayne's butler and closest confidant since childhood, is the person who keeps the larger operation grounded, who attends to the human dimension of what Bruce is doing, who understands it better, perhaps, than Bruce does himself, and who worries about it with the specific worry of someone who cannot stop what they are watching, but who refuses to pretend it is not happening. The Batsuit, in this version of the story, has been modified. The cowl now turns. Bruce can look left and right without turning his entire body, a limitation of the previous design that is being addressed with the particular seriousness that all the modifications receive. This is an operation run with the rigor of an engineering project, where every failure becomes the data for the next improvement. Bruce Wayne is watching Harvey Dent. He is watching him with the specific attention of a person who believes they have found what they have been looking for, the answer to a question he has been carrying. The question is this: if Gotham can be protected by legitimate means, by a district attorney who is brave enough and effective enough to do the work in daylight, then the man in the bat costume can stop. The work is interim. It is a holding measure while the city finds its footing, while the legitimate institutions recover their strength, while a Harvey Dent arrives who can make the law mean what it is supposed to mean. This is what Bruce Wayne wants. He wants to stop. He wants to believe that the city is nearly ready to protect itself and that he can put the suit away and become, in the simplest possible terms, a person. He has been Batman for long enough that the wanting to stop has become its own kind of ache, not a wish to escape the work, but a genuine assessment that the work should at some point end, and that the ending would be better for the city as well as for him. He watches Harvey Dent with hope. He watches him the way a person watches the evidence of something they very much want to be true. The mob, meanwhile, has a problem. Gotham's organized crime has consolidated in response to the pressure from Batman and from Harvey Dent's prosecutorial campaign. The various factions, the Chechen, Gamble, Maroni, and the others who divided the city's criminal economy between them, have been meeting in an underground parking structure to discuss the state of their operations. The meetings have the specific atmosphere of an industry in difficulty. The men at the table are successful in the sense of having survived and accumulated, but the conditions they are operating in have become substantially more hostile than they were accustomed to. Their money, in response to Batman's interference with their banking arrangements, has been moved. A Chinese national named Lau, who operates a legitimate financial services firm as the public face of a money management operation for Gotham's underworld, has moved the accumulated cash holdings of the city's crime families to somewhere that neither Batman nor the district attorney's office can easily access. He is, from his position in Hong Kong, very pleased with the elegance of this arrangement. He communicates this pleasure to the assembled mob families via a video call that has the particular quality of a man who believes he is beyond reach. The mob families are not entirely comfortable with Lau having their money, but they are more comfortable with him having it than with the alternative. Which is to say, having it somewhere that Harvey Dent and the Major Crimes Unit and the federal authorities who are beginning to take an interest in Gotham can find it. The arrangement is imperfect. The arrangement is, however, the best available option. Then the Joker appears. He appears at the mob meeting without invitation, which is in itself a statement. He arrives at a table of men who have spent their careers in the specific business of enforcing boundaries and making certain that uninvited arrivals understand the consequence of arriving uninvited. And he sits down and begins to speak. He wears his face paint. He speaks with a particular unhurried quality, as though the armed men in the room are simply part of the environment rather than a consideration that requires management. He has a proposal. His proposal is simple. He will kill Batman. He will kill Batman for half of what is in Lau's account, a sum that, given the scale of the mob's consolidated holdings, is very large. He makes this proposal with a specific presentation, a card trick, a pencil, a demonstration of the gap between what the men in the room expect and what they actually receive when they deal with him. He is interested in making a point, and the point is that he is not the kind of problem that armed men can solve by being armed. Gamble, who runs one of the larger factions and who has the particular energy of someone who has built his authority on a very direct and very physical kind of enforcement, is not interested in the proposal. He is offended by it and by the man making it. He puts a price on the Joker's head. The Joker is not perturbed by this. Bruce Wayne, who has been using the resources available to him to track every development in the mob's reorganization, becomes aware of Lau and of the money's relocation to Hong Kong. He discusses this with Lucius Fox and with Alfred, and the conclusion that emerges from the discussion is that there is a way to solve the money problem. But it requires going to Hong Kong, which is not Gotham City, which is not the jurisdiction where Batman's relationship with the authorities has any standing, which would be, if it goes wrong, the kind of international incident that cannot be managed. Bruce Wayne goes to Hong Kong. He goes first as himself, as the public Bruce Wayne, the socialite and businessman, attending a party at Lau's firm with the specific cover of someone who is exploring investment opportunities in the Chinese financial market. He meets Lau. He conducts the surface conversation that the situation requires. He is collecting, through the meeting, the layout and the operational details of the building and the security arrangements that will be needed for what comes next. What comes next is Batman in Hong Kong using equipment that Lucius Fox has built into the city's infrastructure under cover of Wayne Enterprises, cellular expansion, an active sonar device that maps the interior of Lau's building through the walls, producing a three-dimensional picture of the security arrangements and the location of the specific room where Lau will be waiting when Batman arrives. The sonar system is elegant and morally complex in ways that will become important later in the story. For now, it is a tool, and it works. Batman arrives at Lau's building via aircraft, deploys a device that deactivates the building's electrical systems, makes his way through the building in the dark using technology that can see what human eyes cannot, finds Lau, contains him, and extracts him, up through the building's roof in a rising package attached to a plane that has been circling above, in a sequence that has the quality of something that has been planned with meticulous care and that unfolds accordingly. Lau goes to Gotham in a crate, under police custody, with the full knowledge that he will cooperate with the district attorney's investigation rather than face the kind of prosecution that will follow if he does not. Harvey Dent uses Lau's testimony to charge every member of every major crime family in Gotham simultaneously. 549 counts. The charges are laid before a judge in a Gotham courtroom, and the courtroom has, on the day of the proceeding, the specific atmosphere of a moment that people sense is historic. The members of the press who are present, the members of the mob families who are watching from the gallery, the officers who have brought in the defendants, all of them understanding that something is being attempted here that has not been attempted before. A full legal assault on the entire organized criminal infrastructure of the city at once. Harvey Dent argues the case with the particular confidence of a man who knows what he has and knows how to use it. He has Lau. He has Lau's testimony and Lau's records, and the specific accounting that Lau has provided of every transaction made by every family in every year of their relationship. It is comprehensive, It is, if it holds, devastating. The Joker is watching all of this. He is watching it from somewhere in the city, or from several places in the city, simultaneously. The film is never entirely certain of where the Joker is when he is not performing the Joker at someone, because the Joker's location when he is not in the story seems to be simply somewhere that serves his next appearance in the story. He watches the mob situation tighten. He watches Harvey Dent conduct his prosecutorial campaign. He understands with a precision that the mob families have not quite achieved, that the legitimate attack on their enterprise is far more dangerous than any amount of pressure from the man in the bat costume. Batman operates outside the law. That which operates outside the law can be answered with extra-legal means. Harvey Dent operates inside the law, which means that the only answer to him is the law itself. And the law, if Lau's testimony is allowed to stand, and the cases proceed, is going to consume the Gotham underworld entirely. The Joker makes contact with Gordon. He sends the police department a video. The video is a recording of a man dressed as Batman. Not the real Batman, but a man who has put on a costume and who is, in the video, being subjected to the Joker's attention. The video is a communication. The communication is this: give up Batman, reveal Batman's true identity, or people will die. The Joker has been making similar communications to the general public and to the city's figures of authority with the specific regularity of someone who is running a campaign. Each day that Batman does not unmask, someone dies. That is the offer. That is the structure of the situation he is creating. The city begins to feel the pressure of the Joker's campaign. The fear that attaches to the knowledge that someone in the city is prepared to kill indiscriminately and who has framed the killing as the consequence of another person's choice changes the atmosphere in Gotham. The city that was beginning to believe, under Harvey Dent's stewardship, that the direction of things was improving, begins to feel the specific anxiety of a population that has been told it is hostage to something it cannot control. Commissioner Loeb is killed. The police commissioner, who has been a complicated figure in the story. Not entirely corrupt, not entirely clean. A man who made accommodations with the conditions of his city and who was therefore not without responsibility for those conditions, dies of a poison delivered through a bottle of whiskey that was presented to him as a gift. A judge is killed by a car bomb. The attacks on the city's institutional figures are precise and demoralizing. They are designed not only to kill, but to demonstrate that the Joker can kill whom he chooses, when he chooses, without the city being able to prevent it. At the Commissioner's memorial service, inside a cathedral full of Gotham's civic figures, the Joker arrives. He arrives with armed men and with the specific preparedness of someone who has planned this particular intervention carefully. The cathedral is full of police officers who are there to protect the attendees, and the Joker arrives anyway, which is the point. The point is that protection, as it has been understood, does not apply. He is looking for the mayor. He intends to kill the mayor. Gordon, who understands what is happening before most of the people in the building do, moves to intercept. In the chaos and the gunfire, Gordon is shot. Gordon falls. The city receives the news that James Gordon, the police officer who rebuilt the city's relationship with the law, who worked with the Batman, who was the particular human face of Gotham's attempt to reclaim itself, is dead. He is not dead. But the film lets the city and the audience believe he is dead for a period. The belief does specific work. It removes the figure who has been the bridge between Batman and the legitimate institutions of the city, who has been the living argument that the two sides of Gotham's defense can function together. The absence of Gordon, even as a temporary absence, produces a particular loneliness in the film's landscape. Bruce Wayne attends the memorial. Alfred attends beside him, and the quiet between them has the quality of two people who understand that what they are watching is a city reaching a point where the things that have been holding it together are being removed one by someone who knows exactly what he is doing. Harvey Dent, in the immediate aftermath of Gordon's apparent death and the Joker's escalating attacks, does something surprising. He declares himself Batman. He stands in front of the press and tells them that he is the man behind the mask, that he is the Batman who has been operating in Gotham. The declaration is not true, but its effect is to draw the Joker's attention to Harvey Dent specifically. And Harvey Dent's logic is that this is the result the city needs. If the Joker is directing his campaign at Batman, and Harvey Dent claims to be Batman, then the Joker comes for Harvey Dent. And when the Joker comes for Harvey Dent, the Joker can be caught. It is a plan that is, in its own terms, coherent. It has the specific quality of a plan made by someone who has thought it through from his own position, who has assessed his own importance, his own ability to absorb what comes, and who has decided that the risk is one worth taking. It is also a plan made by someone who is, at some level, he may not entirely acknowledge, beginning to understand that the line he has always drawn between the legitimate and the extra-legal, between the official means and the other means, may not be as firm as he has always required it to be. Bruce Wayne is troubled by Harvey's declaration. He is troubled because he had already made his own decision. He was going to unmask. He was going to appear before the city and give them what the Joker demanded. Because the logic that the Joker's campaign had constructed, kill people until Batman unmasks, made the cost of staying masked too high in human terms. He had made the decision with the specific resignation of a person who understands that the work is over, that the interim period has ended, and that the responsible thing is to let it end. Harvey takes the decision away from him. The police transport Harvey Dent toward the holding facility where he will be kept while the Joker is drawn in to collect him. The convoy moves through Gotham streets in a formation that has the serious look of maximum security. Multiple vehicles, air cover, the full deployment of the city's protective capacity. The Joker arrives. The Joker arrives with trucks and with weapons and with the specific preparation of someone who has studied the city's security protocols and built a response to them. The convoy battle is a sequence of sustained, grinding destruction. The Joker's forces attacking the convoy from multiple vectors, the police defending, vehicles being destroyed, Batman arriving to assist when the situation becomes critical. The sequence is long and specific. It does not have the clean, fast quality of an action scene designed to entertain. It has the quality of something that costs. Every moment of it is effort, damage, consequence. At the height of the battle, Batman arrives on his motorcycle, the Batpod, and intercepts the Joker's main vehicle, a massive truck, in a frontal approach that requires him to use the motorcycle's grapple to invert the truck at high speed, sending it skidding across the asphalt and bringing the convoy battle to its culminating moment. Batman has stopped the truck. The Joker is inside the overturned vehicle, and it appears that the Joker has been apprehended. It appears this way for exactly the amount of time it takes for the situation to reveal itself as something other than it appeared to be. The Joker is on his feet in the street, waiting. He is waiting for Batman to approach. He has a detonator. He has also, as the audience will understand before Bruce Wayne does, been counting on exactly this outcome. Not as a defeat, but as the next stage in what he is doing. He is standing in the street with his hands out in a gesture of surrender. But the gesture has a specific quality that is not surrender, that is invitation. He is inviting Batman to kill him. He speaks to Batman about the nature of what they are to each other, how they are locked together, how the one cannot exist without the other, how Batman is the reason the Joker exists and will continue to exist. Gordon, who was not dead, but was merely deployed elsewhere in the operation, emerges to make the arrest. The Joker is taken to the MCU. He is placed in a cell in the Major Crimes Unit. He is, for the first and only time in the film, in a position that looks like custody. Commissioner Gordon calls the mayor to tell him that the Joker has been caught, that the situation has been resolved, that the city can begin to return to something like normal. The call has the tone of a man who is not quite able to believe that this particular problem has been solved, but who is, in this moment, allowing himself the relief of believing it. The Joker in custody is not a solved problem. He is a situation in progress. Batman goes to see him. The interrogation room of the Major Crimes Unit is a small, white, hard-edged space. The kind of space designed for exactly this kind of encounter. A space where the atmosphere is controlled and the power dynamic is structured to favor the questioner. Batman enters the room and sits across from the Joker and begins, in the specific way of someone who is trying to extract information that is needed immediately, to apply the kind of pressure that Batman applies. Physical, direct, without ceremony. The Joker is not pressured. He sits across from Batman and receives what Batman does to him with the particular equanimity of a person who has already thought through this conversation and who knows where it is going, regardless of what the other participant in the conversation does to try to direct it elsewhere. He talks. He talks in the specific way that is his register. Not lies exactly. Not the ordinary evasion of a person who is trying to protect information, but a kind of sideways truth-telling that is more disturbing than deception because it is genuine. He tells Batman about Harvey Dent and Rachel. He has them, he says. He tells Batman the addresses where they are being held, separately, on opposite sides of the city. Enough time to save one, not both. He delivers this information with the precise awareness of someone who understands what he is doing. He is forcing Batman to choose, and the choice will do damage regardless of how it is made. Batman moves immediately. He goes to Rachel's address, which is the address he was given, for Rachel, which is not where Rachel is. The Joker has given him Harvey's address under Rachel's name, and Rachel's address under Harvey's name. Batman arrives at Harvey's location. Police arrive at Rachel's location. Both arrive too late to prevent the devices from detonating. The explosions go off. Rachel is killed. Harvey survives, barely, with the left side of his face destroyed by fire and by the specific physics of an explosion that he was unable to escape from because the restraints he was held in prevented him from moving away from the burning fuel. The film moves through this sequence without softening. Rachel is gone. The character who has been present across both films, who has been Bruce Wayne's connection to the ordinary world and Harvey Dent's partner, is dead. The film does not pause for this in the way of a film that wants the audience to process it gradually. It presents it and continues, which is its own kind of honesty. The events of this world do not pause for grief, and the story does not either. Harvey Dent in the hospital is a new situation. The physical damage is severe. The left side of his face, burned, disfigured, the specific result of the explosion and the fire and the fact that he was restrained and could not protect that side of himself, is a wound that has no medical correction available to it. The doctors do what can be done, and what can be done is not enough to return him to what he was. Bruce Wayne goes to the hospital. He goes in the specific role of someone who has lost something and who is not sure how to account for it. Who knows that Harvey Dent's situation is, at some level, a consequence of the decisions that led to this day, and who feels the weight of that without being able to address it directly. He stands at the edge of what Harvey Dent has become, and the standing has the quality of a man beginning to understand that the cost of the work is not always distributed the way he expected it to be distributed. Alfred, who has been watching Bruce move through this crisis, tells him a story. The story is about a bandit Alfred encountered once in Burma, a bandit who was stealing and burning the rubies he stole, not keeping them, not selling them, simply taking them and destroying them, and who resisted every attempt to capture him by conventional means because the conventional means assumed that the bandit wanted something that could be taken away, some goal or resource that could be denied to him. The bandit simply liked the burning. That was the whole of it. Alfred tells the story because he wants Bruce to understand the nature of what they are dealing with in the Joker, that the framework within which they have been trying to understand the Joker and the framework within which the Joker is operating are not the same framework, and the gap between them is where every strategy that assumes an opponent with conventional goals will fail. The Joker, meanwhile, has escaped. He has escaped from the major crimes unit through an operation that used a man he had placed inside the police department, a man who had in his body a device that the Joker detonated at the appropriate moment, in a manner that creates chaos and provides the opening for the Joker's extraction. The escape sequence is another demonstration of planning that extends further than anyone around him anticipates. He had a plan for his arrest. He had a plan for his time in custody. He had a plan for his escape. Every step is accounted for. He goes to the hospital. He goes to Gotham General Hospital, where Harvey Dent is recovering. He arrives in a nurse's uniform, which is the particular quality of a disguise chosen for maximum unsettling effect. There is something about the Joker in a nurse's costume, the white against the face paint, the ordinary comfort of the image combined with what the image contains, that produces a specific unease. He goes to Harvey's room. What he says to Harvey Dent in that hospital room is the center of the film's moral structure. He sits beside Harvey, and he speaks about chaos, about the real equality of chaos, the democracy of it, the way that chaos treats everyone the same and has no agenda and no preference and no corruption, while the structures that call themselves order are corrupt from the inside, are built on the specific agreements and accommodations and betrayals of the people who operate them. He speaks about this to a man who has just had half his face burned away by a plan made by the very people who should have been protecting him, a plan that succeeded because someone inside the system helped it succeed, because the corruption that Harvey Dent has been fighting was not only on the other side of the courtroom, but inside the organizations that were supposed to be his protection. Harvey listens. He has spent his life believing in the law and in the people who serve it, and in the possibility that the legitimate institutions of his city can be made to work for the people they are supposed to serve. He has been the living argument for that belief. He has prosecuted it, literally. He has stood in courtrooms and argued it, and won those arguments, and taken the wins as evidence that the argument was true. In the hospital room, with his face destroyed and Rachel gone and the Joker beside him, speaking about the fundamental corruption of every ordered system, Harvey Dent begins to become something else. He has a coin. He has always had a coin, a two-headed coin that he uses to perform a specific kind of moral theater with, flipping it to pretend to leave things to chance while knowing that the coin gives him the same answer every time. The coin was the prop of a man who believed in his own agency, who was performing chance while enacting control. In the hospital, after the Joker leaves, Harvey turns the coin over in his hand and finds that the explosion has burned one side of it, the side that was facing the blast. The coin is no longer two-headed. One side is clean, one side is scarred. The coin is now genuinely a coin of chance. He begins to use it genuinely. The Joker, before he leaves the hospital, detonates Gotham General. He walks out of the building unhurriedly in the nurse's costume, through a sequence of explosions that go off incrementally as he walks. Not simultaneously, but in sequence, as though the building is collapsing in coordination with his pace. He boards a bus. He watches the hospital fall behind him. The city watches from a distance. The patients and staff, who had been evacuated in the chaos, watching from the parking lot as the building comes down. This moment, the Joker walking from the burning hospital in a nurse's dress, the explosions going off around him in rhythm, is one of the film's most discussed images. And it earns its place not through spectacle alone, but through what it conveys about the character. The absolute absence of urgency, the total comfort in the destruction, the sense that this is a person for whom the ordinary human relationship to consequence simply does not apply. The city is now in crisis. The bridges out of Gotham are closed. The Joker has issued an ultimatum. The city will descend into chaos, and anyone who tries to leave will be killed. The evacuation of the city's hospitals, undertaken in response to the Joker's threat, has produced 2 ferries loaded with passengers, both attempting to cross the river before the deadline the Joker has set. One ferry carries ordinary civilians. One carries prison inmates being transferred to another facility. Each ferry has a detonator. The detonator on each ferry, the Joker's communications tell the passengers, will blow up the other ferry. The passengers of each ferry have the means to destroy the other. The Joker has constructed the situation so that the most rational individual action, blowing up the other ferry before they blow up you, leads to the killing of hundreds of innocent people. He is testing the theory he has been trying to demonstrate all along, that civilization is a performance, that people, when the conditions are right, will abandon it. He believes they will blow each other up. On the civilian ferry, the detonator is passed from hand to hand. People argue. Some say to use it, some say not to. The specific atmosphere of people facing an impossible situation, not having any good choice, not being able to make the situation into something it is not, fills the ferry cabin. A large man, a man with the specific physical presence of someone who has the capacity for violence, and who has perhaps used that capacity in his life, takes the detonator from the person who is advocating for its use. He takes it. He throws it through the window into the river. He says simply that he will not be the one to do what the Joker wants them to do. On the prison ferry, the warden holds the detonator and makes the same choice by inaction, by not using it, by waiting for a deadline that passes without either ferry having destroyed the other. They do not blow each other up. The Joker's experiment fails. The failure is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It simply happens. The deadline arrives and passes, and neither boat has destroyed the other. And the Joker receives the information of this failure with a specific expression that is hard to read, but that has within it something that is not quite surprise and not quite disappointment, but is perhaps the first moment in the film where the Joker's certainty about the nature of the world is not confirmed by the world. Batman has been tracking the Joker's communication signals through a network of cell phones he has been using as microphones, a massive surveillance system constructed out of every phone in Gotham, an active sonar map of the entire city, feeding information about every signal in real time to a display that allows Batman to locate the Joker specifically. This system, when Lucius Fox discovers it, produces the film's most directly stated moral argument. Fox tells Bruce that he will not be the man who operates this kind of surveillance. He tells him that the system is too powerful, that no one person should have access to this much information about this many people, that the decision to build it, even in service of catching the Joker, is a decision Bruce did not have the right to make alone. Bruce has built a fail-safe into the system. Fox is the only person who can activate the fail-safe, the only person besides Bruce who has access to the system's terminal. And Bruce has structured the arrangement so that Fox must choose. Use the system to find the Joker or destroy it. Fox uses it. He finds the Joker. Then he destroys it. Batman goes to the building where the Joker is operating from. A building under construction, open to the sky with a view over the city and over the river and over the ferries. The Joker has positioned himself at a point where he can watch the experiment he has constructed, and he is watching it when Batman arrives. The fight between them, in this unfinished space, is not the clean combat of a trained hero against a conventional villain. The Joker's men attack from multiple angles. Batman fights through them. The building shakes with the fighting and the descent and the struggle that carries them toward the edge. The Joker goes over the edge. He falls. Batman fires a grapple and catches him. The Joker hangs in the air above the city, caught by the same man he has been trying to force to kill him throughout the film. And the situation is exactly the situation the Joker has been trying to construct. Batman with the Joker's life in his hands, the specific opportunity to simply let go, to allow the fall, to end the threat, with the kind of final action that the Joker has been taunting Batman toward for the entire film. Batman does not let go. He holds on. He hauls the Joker back up. He speaks to the Joker about not being willing to kill him, about having his own rules, about the line he has drawn and will not cross. The Joker laughs. He says that there is one more part of the experiment, the part that has not been played yet, the part that will, he believes, prove his argument better than anything else in the night. He says that Batman's greatest creation will be his downfall. He says it in the specific manner of someone who has already put the next piece in place. He is talking about Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent has not been where the story left him. He has been moving through Gotham all night with his scarred coin and his ruined face and his new calculus of judgment. Not the law's calculus, not the calculus of evidence and procedure and the specific protections of the accused, but the calculus of the coin, the genuine chance, the outcome left to the thing that has no preference and no corruption and no agenda. He has been finding the people responsible for Rachel's death. He has been finding them one by one. The corrupt officer who gave the Joker information about the convoy route, the men who arranged the trap, and Gordon's family. Gordon, who built his operation around a unit he believed he could trust, who made the decision to use men who turned out to be compromised. Gordon, in Harvey's new accounting, is responsible. Gordon's family is the means by which Harvey intends to make Gordon understand the weight of what was lost, to make him feel, in the most immediate and personal terms available, the cost of the specific corruption he tolerated or failed to detect. Gordon arrives at the location where Harvey has his family. The scene is a nighttime confrontation at the edge of a structure in the city, with Gordon's son in Harvey's control, and the coin being turned in Harvey's hand, and the logic of the situation being exactly what the Joker said it would be. Batman's greatest creation being the thing that proves his argument. Harvey Dent, the White Knight, the living argument for legitimate means, the person Bruce Wayne watched and hoped and believed in, is here at the edge of a building with a coin and a gun, making decisions by chance because the alternative is to trust a system that has already proven it cannot be trusted. Batman arrives. The confrontation in those final moments is three people in a space where the logic of everything that has happened in the film is meeting its outcome. Harvey speaks. Gordon speaks. Harvey makes his choice. By coin, by chance. And the choice removes Harvey from the story in the same motion that Batman makes to end the situation, to prevent what Harvey intends, by throwing himself and Harvey from the structure together. Harvey Dent is dead. Batman is injured. Gordon is shaken, holding his son, looking at what has happened and what it means. What it means in the immediate accounting is that Harvey Dent, the man who is going to be Gotham's true hero, the man who is going to show the city that legitimate institutions could work, the man whose cases against the mob families are the legal infrastructure that is keeping 500 criminals in prison, cannot be what he became before he died. The moment he became Two-Face, the moment the coin replaced the law in his judgment, undermines the institutional legitimacy of everything that preceded it. If Harvey Dent is revealed to have done what he did in his last hours, the criminals he convicted walk free. The city's legal reclamation of itself unravels. Batman makes a decision. He tells Gordon that what Harvey did must not become known. He tells Gordon that Gotham needs Harvey Dent as the symbol of what is possible, the White Knight, the hope, the proof that legitimate means can work, and that Harvey Dent, as Two-Face, cannot be what the city receives. He offers to take responsibility. He offers to be the one that Gotham blames for what happened, to take the deaths of this night onto himself, to become the thing that the city turns against, so that Harvey Dent can remain what the city needs him to be. This is the weight that the film has been building toward. Gordon understands what is being offered. He resists it. Not because it is wrong, tactically, but because it is a cost being paid by someone who has already paid enormously. and because accepting the offer is accepting a specific version of the story that makes Gordon complicit in a deception that will shape Gotham's understanding of itself for years to come. The deception is protective. The deception is, in the specific terms of the situation, the best available option. The deception is also a deception. Gordon accepts. The bat signal on the roof of police headquarters, the light that has been Batman's relationship with the city's legitimate authority, the signal that the two sides of Gotham's defense could communicate, is destroyed. Gordon takes a hammer to it himself in the dark, while below him the city watches. The voice that speaks over this action is Batman's, and then Gordon's, and then Batman's again. A dialogue about the nature of what Batman is and what the city needs him to be. Batman runs. The police pursue. Gordon speaks to his son, who asks why they are chasing Batman, who asks why they are running after the person who has been on the side of the city this whole time. Gordon tells him that Batman can take it, that Batman is the hero Gotham needs rather than the hero Gotham deserves. A guardian who is willing to be the thing that Gotham needs to turn against. A dark knight who will bear the weight of the deception so that the city can hold on to the better story. The film ends in the dark, and in the running, and in the quiet sense of something enormous having been chosen and paid for, and the city receding behind the man who is moving away from it through the night. There is something else worth noting about the way the film establishes Gotham in its opening passages, something that sets the tone for everything that follows. The city is beautiful. Not beautiful in a romantic or aspirational sense, but beautiful in the specific way of things built with ambition and then weathered by decades of use. The towers have a grandeur that their current condition cannot entirely diminish. The streets have the density and the accumulated texture of a place that has been inhabited seriously and for a long time. The film shoots Gotham at night, and in the blue hours of early morning with a specific care for light, the way glass catches and returns it, the way shadow pools in the spaces between buildings, the way a city looks when it is mostly asleep, but never entirely still. This is not a city that the film dislikes. It is a city the film wants to survive. Bruce Wayne's apartment, in the early scenes of the film, is a penthouse space of considerable size and considerable emptiness. The kind of space that declares the taste and the means of its occupant while also declaring, in its openness and its lack of accumulated personal objects, a life that has not entirely settled into itself. There are things that speak to aesthetics, to choices about how a room should look and feel. There are not many things that speak to history, to the specific accumulation of a life that has happened in this place and left its marks. The apartment is the home of a man who lives elsewhere, who lives in the ways that matter most to him, in a cave beneath a building that burned down, in the specific workspace of the work he does at night. Alfred moves through this space with the particular ease of someone who has been in all the spaces Bruce Wayne has ever occupied, and who has made himself at home in each of them, not because they are his spaces, but because where Bruce is, Alfred is, and the presence is the home rather than the place. He brings breakfast, and he brings conversation, and he brings in his steady and affectionate way the daily reminder that the person who puts on the suit is also a person who eats breakfast, who needs sleep, who is finite in ways the suit is designed to conceal. Alfred does not let him forget the finitude. It is one of the most important things Alfred does. The Wayne Enterprises Tower has a different quality from the penthouse. It is a place of serious business, conducted by serious people, in the serious register of an organization with global reach and global responsibilities. Lucius Fox operates within it with the specific ease of a man whose technical intelligence is profound and whose personal warmth is genuine, a combination that makes him effective in ways that pure technical ability never quite manages on its own. He and Bruce speak with the shorthand of two people who have been working on the same project long enough that the shorthand covers complicated territory. The Applied Science Division, which Fox heads, is officially a research department. Its actual function is the continuous development of tools that Batman needs and that no legitimate manufacturer would produce for a man in a bat costume. Fox builds them, delivers them, and maintains a diplomatic silence about the purpose they serve. The diplomatic silence is also a form of moral statement. Fox knows what he is doing. Fox has decided it is acceptable to do it. And Fox has reserved the right to reconsider if the conditions of the work change in ways he cannot accept. Lucius Fox, as a character, is the film's clearest embodiment of professional integrity operating under pressure. He builds the sonar system because the situation requires it. He destroys it because its continued existence requires something he will not provide, which is his ongoing operation of a tool that crosses a line he has decided matters. His quiet, firm conversation with Bruce about the system, and his equally quiet destruction of it after using it once for the single purpose it was built for, is the film's most concise statement of the idea that means are not simply neutral instruments of ends, that the thing you use to achieve your goal is itself a moral choice, and that the choice does not become neutral simply because the goal is good. The Joker's first appearance before the mob families, the scene in the underground parking structure where he arrives uninvited and speaks without fear and performs the pencil trick that makes his point without requiring a speech about it, is worth spending more time with, because the scene establishes something essential about how the film intends us to understand the character. The men at the table are men who have spent their careers in the business of making other people afraid. They have authority, and their authority rests on the credible threat of violence, and the credible threat of violence rests on the conviction that they are the most dangerous people in the room. The Joker arrives in their room, and they are no longer the most dangerous people in it. What makes the scene remarkable is not what the Joker does, the pencil trick, the subsequent violence, but the specific quality of his calm during it. He is not performing bravado. He is not performing fearlessness in the way of a man who is using the performance to manage his own fear. He is genuinely, completely at ease in a room full of people who would ordinarily produce fear in anyone with normal threat assessment instincts. The absence of the fear response is the thing that communicates everything about him that the subsequent conversation confirms. He sits across from the Chechen, from Gamble, from Maroney, from men who have ordered people killed and who have the specific gravity that comes from being the kind of person who can do that. And he speaks to them about Batman with the specific disdain of someone who understands the situation better than the people who are in it. He says Batman has no rules. He says that the absence of rules makes Batman more dangerous than anyone at the table. Because rules are the thing that makes a person predictable, and predictable is manageable. He says he can kill Batman, and the offer is not the offer of a hired gun, but the offer of a person who has a method, who has been thinking about this specific problem, and who has arrived at a solution that the people at the table, with all their resources and all their experience, have not managed to find. Gamble's contempt is the expected response, and the expected response is not wrong exactly. The Joker at the table is an uninvited man with no evident credentials and a face full of paint, making a very large claim about a very difficult problem. Contempt is reasonable, but contempt, in this case, costs Gamble more than it earns him. The subsequent hours of the film track the gradual tightening of the situation from multiple directions simultaneously, and the editing between these directions has its own rhythm. The pace that Nolan uses to move between Bruce Wayne and Batman, and Harvey Dent, and Gordon and the Joker and the mob families creates a specific sense of a city in which many different forces are in motion at once, moving toward an encounter that none of them has entirely planned for. The film trusts the audience to track the multiple threads without constant reorientation, and the trust produces a viewing experience that has the quality of a mind working through something rather than being walked through something. Gordon's operation at the Major Crimes Unit has a specific texture in the film's early sections, the specific texture of a law enforcement organization that is trying to be better than its environment, that is staffed by people who are, mostly, genuinely trying to do the work well, but that is also operating within a city where the corruption of the previous era has left traces, and where the traces are not always visible. Gordon believes in his unit. He has built it around people he thinks he can trust. The film does not tell him immediately that his trust is misplaced, but it builds the sense that the world Gordon has assembled is more permeable than he knows, that the surfaces he has come to rely on have things moving beneath them that the surfaces do not reveal. The specific mood of the scene in which Harvey Dent is introduced to the audience before the camera finds him in a courtroom where he is in his element, but in a diner where he is eating breakfast alone with a calm and a self-possession that reads as someone comfortable in his own company, establishes something important about him that the courtroom scene then amplifies. He is not performing Harvey Dent. He is Harvey Dent, which sounds like a circular observation, but is not. There are people whose public self and private self are so continuous that moving between them requires no gear shift, no calibration, no transition of any kind. He is the same in the diner as he is in the courtroom, and the sameness is the quality the film wants us to understand about him before everything else. Rachel, in the film's early sections, is the connective tissue between the story's principal male figures. She knows Bruce, she is with Harvey, she is part of what both of them are trying to protect, even as they are aware of the impossibility of protecting everything. Her position in the story is difficult, in retrospect, because the film uses her as much as it uses her. She is present, she is articulate, she has her own perspective on the men in her life, and then she is removed to generate the maximum emotional damage in the people who love her. The film is aware of this limitation. It does not resolve it. But Rachel's presence in the early sections, her directness, her refusal to flatter either Bruce or Harvey in ways that would not serve them, Her clear-eyed understanding of what Bruce has become and what that means for any future she might have imagined with him gives her enough weight that her absence is genuinely felt rather than merely plotted. The scene between Bruce and Rachel in the penthouse, where she tells him that the day he no longer needs to be Batman will be the day they can be together, and where he holds this promise as a horizon to move toward, is the scene that gives the Hong Kong extraction its emotional freight. He is not only going to Hong Kong to catch Lau, he is going because catching Lau advances the case, and advancing the case strengthens Harvey, and a strong Harvey means a Gotham that can protect itself. And a Gotham that can protect itself means a Bruce Wayne who can put the suit away and go be with Rachel. The chain of connection that links the tactical decision to the personal hope is the film's way of showing us what Bruce Wayne is working toward, what the deferred life looks like from inside the deferral. The Hong Kong extraction, when it comes, is a sequence of sustained precision, not the grim, grinding precision of the convoy sequence, but the clean, almost serene precision of a plan that is unfolding as planned, each element arriving at the expected moment, the whole operation moving with the specific grace of preparation meeting execution. Bruce Wayne arrives at Lau's firm's party as Bruce Wayne and navigates the social surface of the encounter with the ease of someone who has been performing this particular role for long enough that the performance requires no conscious effort. He notes what he needs to note. He does not reveal what he knows. He excuses himself and becomes Batman. The sonar map of Lau's building, the wireframe architecture of the building as it appears through the walls, the living space of the target visible in real time, the positions of the security personnel charted and updated as they move, is one of the film's most visually distinctive images, and it is used here as a tool of extraordinary utility, the kind of tool that makes what follows look from the outside almost simple. Batman moves through the building in the dark with total knowledge of where everyone is. The guards who might have stopped him are never in a position to stop him. Lau is in a room that the sonar showed him was accessible. The whole thing, when it is accomplished, has the quality of a problem solved. The extraction, rising through the building, through the roof, into the aircraft, is fast and final and carries Lau into a jurisdiction where he has no protection and no options. He is delivered to Gordon, who delivers him to Harvey, who uses him to build the largest prosecutorial case Gotham has ever seen. The case is the foundation of what follows. The case is the thing the Joker, watching all of this from whatever perch he occupies in the city's margins, identifies as the legitimate threat, the thing that can actually dismantle the criminal infrastructure that he has been using as the canvas for his experiments. The Joker's response to Harvey Dent's case is not to oppose it legally, or to threaten the witnesses, or to do any of the things that an ordinary criminal responding to a serious prosecutorial threat would do. He responds by escalating. He responds by making the cost of the case, the cost of Gotham's attempt to use its legitimate institutions to reclaim itself, so high that the city will have to reconsider whether the attempt is worth continuing. He kills Judge Cirillo, who is assigned to the case. He kills Commissioner Loeb. He nearly kills the mayor. Each killing is precise, is delivered through means that demonstrate both planning and the capacity to penetrate any level of protection the city can provide. The message is not simply that he can kill these people. The message is that the city's entire security apparatus cannot prevent him from doing so, which is a different and much larger statement. Gordon's apparent death in the cathedral, the moment when the man who has been the film's clearest symbol of institutional integrity is shot and falls, is constructed with the specific care of something that is designed to be felt before it is understood. The chaos of the cathedral scene has been building towards something, and when Gordon falls, the building of the chaos finds its culmination in a moment that arrives before the audience has fully anticipated it, which is the only way it can work. If it were anticipated, the anticipation would blunt the impact. Batman catches the Joker. Gordon falls. Both things happen in close sequence, and neither is able to be processed before the next thing requires attention. The lie of Gordon's death serves a tactical purpose, concealing him from the Joker's awareness so that he can be deployed in the final operation, but it also serves the film's emotional purpose, which is to make the city and the people in it understand what it would mean to lose him. The grief that Bruce Wayne carries through the middle sections of the film is not only for Rachel, who has been removed as a possible future, but for the city's best self, which Gordon represented and which his death would have meant the removal of. The discovery that Gordon is alive is one of the film's few moments of uncomplicated relief, and the relief is earned precisely because the loss was made to feel real. Now that the story has gently unfolded, it can be interesting to reflect on some of the ideas behind the film. The Dark Knight is, at its deepest level, a film about what it costs to maintain a civilization that is worth maintaining. The cost in this story is not primarily measured in physical terms, though the physical cost is real and is shown in full, but in moral and psychological terms, in the specific currency of what a person has to be willing to do and to endure and to become in order to protect something beyond themselves. The film asks whether those costs can be paid without the payer being destroyed by the paying, and it arrives at an answer that is neither optimistic nor pessimistic, but something more honest than either. The costs are real, the paying does damage, and the only meaningful question is whether what is being protected is worth the damage. The Joker, as the film presents him, is not simply a villain in the conventional sense. He is a philosophical position made into a person, or rather, made into the performance of a person, since the Joker's identity is entirely constructed performance, entirely surface chosen for effect. He has no apparent history, no consistent account of where his scars came from, no origin that the film endorses. This is deliberate. An origin would make him explicable, and an explicable Joker would be a smaller problem than the inexplicable one. He is presented as something that emerges from conditions rather than something that was made, which is the more frightening version. His philosophy, as he states it, and as the film dramatizes it, is that order is a performance and chaos is the truth beneath the performance. He believes that people, when the performance of civilization is stripped away, will revert to self-interested violence, that the civic agreements that allow cities to function are maintained only so long as their maintenance does not cost too much, and that when the cost rises high enough, people abandon them. He runs experiments designed to prove this. The ferry experiment is the clearest of them. Construct a situation in which each group can save itself only at the cost of destroying another group, and watch what they choose. The passengers of the ferries choose not to destroy each other. This failure of the Joker's experiment is the film's central moral event, the moment where the argument he has been constructing across the entire film is tested in the most direct possible terms and does not hold. People do not, when the moment comes, choose the self-interested violence he has predicted. The large man who throws the detonator into the river does not explain his reasons. He does not make a speech. He simply acts, in the way that the best human actions sometimes work, without the rhetorical scaffolding of justification, as a simple expression of what the person is and what they will not do. The failure of the experiment does not, however, resolve the film's argument. It complicates it. Because the Joker is right about Harvey Dent. He is right that the systems of order Harvey represents are corruptible. And he is right that the specific corruption of those systems, the officers who sold their loyalty, the administrators who made accommodations, is more dangerous than the chaos he embodies, because it is hidden inside the thing it is undermining. Harvey Dent's transformation is not proof of the Joker's point about human nature generally. It is proof of his point about the specific vulnerability of a man who has organized his entire identity around the belief that legitimate institutions work, when those institutions fail him in the most personal possible way. Harvey Dent's psychology is the film's most emotionally complete portrait of a person in crisis. He begins the film as someone who is not naive. He understands the cost of what he does. He understands the risks. He has made his peace with the fact that doing this work puts him in the way of the things the work is fighting. He is not a man without self-knowledge, but his self-knowledge operates within a framework that assumes the framework will hold, that the law as a structure will remain the law, that the people who are supposed to be on his side will remain on his side, and that the outcomes, however uncertain, will be the outcomes of a system that is at least attempting to be just. When the framework fails him personally, when Rachel dies as a consequence of a plan that used information supplied by his own side, the failure is not simply a practical disappointment. It is a metaphysical collapse. The thing he believed in, which was the only thing he had built his life around, has proven to be exactly as fragile and corruptible as the people who opposed it always said it was. He is left in the hospital with half his face and no framework. The coin becomes his framework. And the coin is its own kind of philosophy. Not nihilism, exactly, not the absence of any ordering principle, but the substitution of pure chance for the corrupted human judgment that failed him. If the law is not just because the people who operate it are not just, then chance is more just than the law, because chance has no agenda and no corruption and no preference. Harvey's Two-Face is not simply a man who has gone mad. He is a man who has replaced one philosophical framework with another, and the new framework is internally coherent even as it is terrible. The film treats this psychology with genuine care. It does not present Harvey's transformation as the simple result of physical injury, or as a kind of comic book origin, in which a man becomes a villain because a bad thing happened to him. It presents it as the result of a very specific philosophical argument being made under conditions of extreme personal loss by a very persuasive interlocutor. The Joker, in the hospital room, not lying but speaking a specific truth that Harvey, in his grief and his pain, cannot counter-argue. The Joker is right about the system's failing. The conclusion Harvey draws from that is the Joker's conclusion, and the film follows the logic with enough care that the tragedy feels earned rather than mechanical. Bruce Wayne's psychology across the film is organized around the question of what he is and what he should stop being. He begins the film wanting to stop. He wants Harvey Dent to be real, not in the literal sense, but in the sense of being the kind of person who can do what Bruce Wayne does by night, but do it in daylight, within the law, in a way that does not require masks or the specific ethical violations that the mask enables. He watches Harvey with hope, because Harvey represents the possibility that the interim will end, that the work that required someone outside the law is now ready to be taken over by someone inside it. This hope is not naivety. Bruce understands what he is doing as an emergency response to an emergency, not as a sustainable model. He is aware of the costs, aware that operating outside the law produces its own distortions, aware that the surveillance system he builds in order to find the Joker is exactly the kind of thing that no one person should have access to. He builds the fail-safe because he knows it is wrong to have the power without the check on the power. He structures the situation so that Fox can destroy it, because he is aware that building something like that, and then refusing to destroy it, would be the moment when he becomes a different kind of problem. The moral seriousness of Batman in this film, the actual engagement with what it means to do what he does, is what separates the character from the simpler version of the same premise. He is not simply a good man doing the right thing. He is a man who knows that what he is doing is not simply the right thing, that it contains within it the seeds of its own corruption, and who is attempting, with considerable effort and at considerable cost, to do it anyway without letting those seeds take root. The deception at the end, taking the blame for Harvey's actions being the thing the city hunts, is the culmination of this. It is not heroism in the simple sense. It is self-sacrifice in the service of a story the city needs. And the film is honest about the complexity of this. It is a deception. It is maintained by Gordon. Who knows it is a deception? It will shape Gotham's understanding of itself for years to come. The rightness of it is not clean. It is the rightness of the best available option, which is not the same as the rightness of something that is simply and unambiguously right. The film's symbolism is organized around duality in ways that operate throughout every level of the story. The coin is the most explicit symbol. The two-headed coin that becomes a two-sided coin, the representation of false certainty that becomes true chance, the emblem of Harvey Dent's belief and then of his disillusionment. The coin appears in Harvey's hands throughout the film with the specific consistency of something that is carrying meaning, turning over and over as he works through what he believes about the world, and then as he works through what the new belief requires of him. The mask is the other central symbol, and it works in a direction opposite to the coin. The coin begins as a symbol of control and becomes a symbol of chance. The mask begins as a symbol of separation. The thing that keeps Bruce Wayne separate from Batman and that protects his life while enabling his work, and becomes, by the end of the film, a symbol of absorption, of a life that has been taken over by what it was supposed to be separate from. Bruce Wayne puts on the mask to protect the person beneath the mask. By the end of the film, the person beneath the mask is less available than he was, has been shaped by the mask in ways that are not reversible. The architecture of Gotham in this film is used symbolically with considerable precision. The film is a film of glass and steel and concrete, of corporate towers and underground spaces, and the specific texture of a city that is simultaneously polished and decayed. The glass surfaces reflect and distort. The underground spaces, the Batcave, the mob's meeting rooms, the MCU holding areas, are places where the world beneath the world operates, where the things that cannot be done in light are done in darkness. The film moves between these levels with the specific awareness of a story that understands its own architecture, that knows what it is saying with each choice of setting. The ferries, as a symbolic space, are the film's clearest image of social contract. The people of a city, separated by circumstance from their ordinary lives, made into an experiment in whether the agreements that hold society together will hold under conditions designed to break them. The film's answer is that they hold barely by the choice of individuals rather than by the structure of systems. The large man who throws the detonator into the river does not represent the system functioning as it should. He represents a person choosing, in the specific way that persons sometimes choose, to be better than the situation asks them to be. Batman himself, as a symbolic figure in this story, is the film's most complex symbol, because he is simultaneously the city's protector and its liability, its hope and its problem. He protects the city in ways the city's legitimate institutions cannot. He also creates conditions and that the city's legitimate institutions cannot manage. The Joker, by the Joker's own account, arrived in response to Batman, was drawn by the existence of something extraordinary to attempt something extraordinary in return. The question of whether the city is better or worse for Batman's presence is not answered cleanly. The film holds both possibilities simultaneously, which is the more honest artistic choice and the more interesting one. The relationship between Batman and the Joker, the way each defines and requires the other, is one of the film's most discussed ideas, and the film earns the discussion by treating the relationship with genuine care. They are not simply opposed, they are linked, and the Joker's awareness of the link is more complete than Batman's at the start, and becomes equally complete for Batman by the end. The Joker does not want to destroy Batman. He wants to break him, to prove to him and to the world that he is breakable, that the line he draws can be erased by sufficient pressure, that the person beneath the mask is as corruptible as any other. The fact that he fails, that Batman does not kill him, does not cross the line, does not diminish the Joker's argument so much as demonstrate its limits, which is perhaps the most that can be hoped for in a world where the argument keeps finding new ways to present itself. Alfred's role in the film is the role of memory and perspective. The person who has known Bruce the longest, who remembers what Bruce was before the mask, and who holds that knowledge as the measure against which the present Bruce is compared. His story about the bandit in Burma is the most direct statement of the film's central challenge, and he tells it with the specific knowledge of a man who has watched someone he loves move into a confrontation without adequate preparation for what the confrontation actually requires. He cannot stop it. He can only try to give Bruce the information he needs and hope it is enough. The city of Gotham as a character in the film deserves its own consideration, because the film treats the city not as a backdrop, but as a participant, a place with its own needs and its own momentum and its own relationship to the forces that are acting upon it. Gotham wants to be saved. It is not a passive object of the story's action, but something more like a living environment that is responding to what is being done to it, that has a collective psychology which the film tracks through the reactions of ordinary people, the passengers on the ferries, the citizens watching the news, the police officers who are trying to do their jobs in conditions that make the jobs nearly impossible. The city is the thing being protected, and the thing being tested, and the thing that, at the end of the film, must live with the story it has been given about itself. The Harvey Dent that the city believes in at the end of the film. The white knight who died fighting for Gotham. The hero whose prosecutions put away 500 criminals and who gave his life in the line of duty is a fiction. This is not a small fact. The film asks us to consider what it means for a city to be built on a fiction, even a protective one, even one maintained out of the best available motives. The city that continues to hold the Dent cases together, the city whose legal system rests on the unchallenged record of a man who was, in his final hours, a person the law would have needed to prosecute, is a city that has accepted a foundational lie. Whether that lie is sustainable, whether it can continue to bear the weight of the city's self-understanding indefinitely, are questions the film deliberately leaves open. Gordon's position at the end of the film is among the most psychologically complex of the story's conclusions. He has accepted the lie. He has accepted it not because he is a corrupt man. The film has spent considerable effort establishing that he is not, but because he is a practical man who loves his city and who has assessed the available options and concluded that the lie is the best of them. He smashes the bat signal himself in the dark, alone. The action is not easy for him. The film shows us in the specific quietness of the moment that he understands the weight of what he is doing, that he is not performing the destruction of the signal without feeling the loss of what the signal represented. He does it because the situation requires it. He does it because Batman asked him to. And Gordon trusts Batman in the specific way he trusts the few people in his life he has decided are trustworthy. Not uncritically, not without understanding the full cost, but genuinely. The role of the truth in this film is more complicated than a simple opposition between honesty and deception. The Joker tells the truth in his way. He tells truths about systems, about corruption, about the fragility of civilized agreements. Truths that are uncomfortable precisely because they are not entirely wrong. Harvey Dent told the truth in courtrooms for years, but the institution of truth-telling he served was undermined by people inside it. Batman lies to Gotham at the end by allowing a false story to stand, but he does so in the service of what he judges to be the city's best chance at a viable future. The film does not sort these into clean categories. It presents them as the messy reality of a world in which the truth is sometimes weaponized, the lie is sometimes protective, and the question of which is which requires a sustained moral engagement that the film asks its characters and its audience to undertake seriously. The Joker's relationship to chaos is worth examining more closely, because the film is careful not to present chaos as simply destructive. The Joker argues that chaos is more honest than order, that the order which Gotham's institutions claim to represent is a performance, maintained by people whose own interests are bound up in its maintenance, and that chaos strips that performance away and reveals the truth beneath it. This argument has a coherence that the film does not dismiss. The corrupt officers who sold information about the convoy are order. The judge who could be bought was order. The commissioner who made accommodations was order. The Joker's chaos, by contrast, makes no promises it does not keep, has no agenda it conceals, does exactly what it says it will do. Where the argument fails is precisely at the point where the film tests it, the ferry. The chaos the Joker constructs on the ferries is not the neutral, preference-free chaos he has been advocating. It is a manufactured crisis designed to produce a specific outcome, the outcome that confirms his argument. He is not releasing chaos so much as engineering a situation intended to generate the appearance of chaos, proving his point. The large man who throws the detonator into the river is the reply to this engineering, and his reply is not rhetorical, but physical. He simply does not do the thing the Joker's argument predicted. He acts in a way that cannot be accounted for by the Joker's framework, because his action is not the product of chaos, and not the product of rational self-interest, and not the product of any of the categories the Joker has been using. He acts from something that the film does not name, but that it trusts the audience to recognize. Batman's one rule, he will not kill, is the film's central constraint and the film's central question. The rule is not presented as obviously correct. Alfred does not argue it is obviously correct. He supports it. But his support is the support of someone who respects the person making the choice, rather than the support of someone who has independently arrived at the same conclusion. The Joker argues the rule is a performance, that Batman maintains it for reasons of self-definition rather than genuine ethical conviction, that he keeps the rule because breaking it would force him to become something he cannot accept, and that this self-serving quality makes the rule morally equivalent to weakness. There is something in this argument. The film does not entirely reject it. What the film does instead is show the consequences of the rule being kept. Batman does not kill the Joker. The Joker, as a result, continues to exist. Harvey Dent, as a result, becomes Two-Face. Rachel, as a result, dies. Not directly as a consequence of Batman's rule, but within a chain of events that the Joker's continued existence makes possible. The cost of the rule is real and is paid in specific human terms. The film shows the cost and does not ask us to ignore it. What it asks instead is whether the alternative, a Batman who kills the Joker, who has decided that the rule has an exception, who has crossed the line and will have to decide whether crossing it once means crossing it again, produces a better world. The film's implicit answer is that it does not. That the moment the exception is made, the rule ceases to be a rule and becomes a preference, and that a Batman with preferences rather than rules is a different and more dangerous kind of problem. The interrogation scene between Batman and the Joker is the film's most formally intense sequence. Two figures in a confined space, one trying to extract information by force, one receiving the force with total equanimity and using the conversation to do something far more sophisticated than protect information. The Joker is not protecting information in the interrogation room. He gives Batman the addresses. His protection of the addresses, reversed, giving them in the wrong order, is not protection at all, but redirection. He wants Batman to go to Harvey's location and find Harvey alive, because Harvey alive and then transformed is more useful to the Joker's argument than Harvey dead. Rachel's death is not incidental to the Joker's plan. It is the specific wound he intends to inflict on the city's best hope. The physical quality of the scene, Batman hitting the Joker absorbing the blows with that specific and disturbing stillness. The relationship between the violence and the power in the room shifting steadily away from where the violence is originating is the scene's most important element. Batman hits harder because hitting harder is what Batman does when the conversation is not producing what is needed. The hitting does not produce what is needed. The Joker is simply not a person for whom physical pain functions as a lever of cooperation, and Batman's entire toolkit rests on the assumption that such levers exist. The Joker represents the limits of the toolkit in the clearest possible terms. There is a quality to the film's depiction of moral courage that distinguishes it from more conventional depictions of heroism. The courage the film valorizes is not primarily physical, not the courage of standing against a physical threat, though that courage is present and is shown, but the courage of maintaining a position under psychological pressure, the courage of not becoming what the situation seems to require, the courage of continuing to believe that something matters when the evidence available suggests that mattering is a luxury the situation cannot afford. Bruce Wayne, declining to kill the Joker, is exercising this kind of courage. The large man on the ferry, throwing the detonator into the river, is exercising this kind of courage. Gordon, making the arrest instead of the shot when Harvey has his son, is exercising this kind of courage. The film collects these moments without underlining them, without asking the audience to notice them as examples of a theme, trusting instead that the accumulation will speak for itself. The ending of the film, the running, the pursuit, the voiceover about what Batman is and what the city needs, is the film's most direct address of its central questions, and it arrives with the specific weight of something that has been earned by everything that preceded it. The speech Gordon gives to his son about Batman is a speech about the gap between what a city deserves and what it needs, about the difference between a hero who earns his place and a hero who serves a function, about the specific kind of courage required to accept a role that is defined entirely by what the city cannot acknowledge. Batman is not thanked. Batman is not celebrated. Batman is hunted. And the hunting is the service, because the city needs something to blame, and Batman is the one person in the story who can absorb the blame without being destroyed by it, and without the city understanding what it is asking of him. This final image, the dark shape moving away from the city into the night, the city's lights receding behind it, is the film's summary of everything it has been working toward. The hero at the end is not triumphant. The hero at the end is retreating, carrying the weight of the story the city needed to tell about itself, moving into an obscurity that will protect the city's better story even as it obscures his own. It is an image of sacrifice that is specifically, deliberately, not glamorous. Not the sacrifice of the martyr who is celebrated and remembered, but the sacrifice of the person who serves best by being invisible, by becoming the thing that can be blamed, so that the things that should not be blamed can remain clean. The Dark Knight, not the hero Gotham deserves, but the one it needs. And so the story of the Dark Knight leaves us in the dark, in the running, in the specific quiet of something that has been chosen at great cost for reasons that are not simple but that are, in the terms the film has established, the best available reasons. The city is protected. The protection has a price. The price is paid by someone who was already paying heavily, who pays more, who moves away from the city into a darkness that is his own making and his own shelter. The film asks us to consider what we owe to the people who stand between us and chaos, and what they owe to us, and whether the accounts can ever really be settled. And it does not give us easy answers. It gives us a story, told carefully, about people trying to do the right thing in conditions that do not make the right thing easy to identify. And the trying is the thing the film honors, even when the trying costs everything. Gotham endures. The lie it tells itself endures with it. And somewhere in the dark, something watches over it still. Rest well.